So, welcome. This is sort of like a new podcasty thingy for me, but I'm going to just put this on YouTube because this is a great way of me chatting with my good mate, Chris Ramsey of Plugged In Adventures, who I've known for a long time.
Yeah.
Why is today a bit of a special day, Chris?
Today is to the day, which you just reminded me, it's a 10-year anniversary of when we drove from John O Groats to Land's End and back in a 24 kilowatt-hour Nissan Leaf. Mad, eh?
It's mad that we did it, and it's mad that it was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Mate. We're 10 years older.
I know. Time is flying.
Where's that time gone? And I was rewatching the video that you shot. You did a little 4-minute video just summarising where we stopped, and I'll put that at the end of this quick chat. It's crazy to think what we did and all those stops. It was 33 rapids we did. Can you remember?
Yeah. I remember. There's some moments that are ingrained in our brains because of how cold we were and ideas that we had. But I guess now, I mean, it's the idea obviously came about. I mean, I can't remember how fully the idea came about. If you asked me or I asked you or whatever, but it all kind of stems from probably when we first met as well, though, right? Back in...
Yeah, that's right. When did we first meet? How did we meet? Didn't we meet via Twitter?
We met via Twitter. One of the good times of social media, right? When social media, and it still does, but social media gets people reaching out to each other and giving each other support. Because I remember being that young lad that I was then, and I discovered the Leaf, the 24 kilowatt-hour Leaf, and thought, what's this all about? And I decided to drive from Aberdeen to Edinburgh to London to Cardiff and then back to Aberdeen again in like a long weekend to just understand what it's all about. Had no clue about the tech. Yeah. And off I went with two of my friends. We were filming it as well. And I remember it was just before Leicester Forest East. We got to a charger. We couldn't get the 𝐕𝐃tricity to work because our card wouldn't work on it. So we plugged into a hotel window, extension lead out of the window, and that kicked off everything, I think, really for me. Got the car charging overnight, drove to Leicester Forest East, but that night before put out a tweet saying, anybody going to be close to Leicester Forest East, can you help us get a charge on 𝐕𝐃tricity? And lo and behold, you, as an amazing guy you are.
10 minutes away from LFE services, southbound. I remember it really well. Yeah, awesome. Because you were doing all the capitals, weren't you?
All the capitals. Again, in the 24 kilowatt-hour Leaf. So.
And would have been 2013?
2013.
I think.
Yeah.
I was into EVs. I was already buying them because I've been driving the Leaf since 2011. So, I used to go to Derby and Nottingham and think that was just miles away from Leicester. But for you to do what you were doing, I was absolutely blown away. And I thought, I've got to meet this bloke. And we've sort of been friends ever since, haven't we? Did a bit of filming.
It took me a year to give you your 𝐕𝐃tricity card back, didn't it?
That's right, yeah.
So bad.
And you actually, I did a bit, because I love filming and producing and all that. It really interests me. But I remember one of your mates, I think you were all at university, he was in the boot of my Leaf with the boot open, and we were doing some follow shots, weren't we? B-roll shots and stuff. And didn't you end up running over his foot as well?
Yeah, we did. And he was still friends with me after that as well. He was climbing out of the car and I put the car in reverse to reverse away, and I didn't realise he was standing there still. But then you kindly gave up time. We did an interview. We talked about who you were and what you were about, and you were selling used EVs at the time. And then as I say, we just kept in contact. We just kept in touch.
Yeah, we did.
And I think on the way back on that trip was another poignant moment because Robert Llewellyn, that was when I first met him, because he got in contact and said, hey, you're driving past where I am. Do you want to stop for a chat? And we were like, oh my God, this is Robert Llewellyn. What? So that was when I first met Robert as well. And I think that trip for me has actually been probably, I got introduced to EVs, and that was the time that actually then, from then on, I went out and bought myself a 24 kilowatt-hour Leaf, and that's my Leaf journey, my EV journey. But it's met on that trip. I actually met still friends today, all those years ago, and probably one of the most amazing people I've ever met in my life, and one of the kindest, most generous people, and that is you. And we've been friends. We've been friends ever since, and it's been such a big part of my life, that journey. Not just kickstarting adventures, kickstarting our friendship, and the meeting of Robert and Fully Charged, and all the things the amazing things they've done to support me over the years as well. So, a very poignant trip.
Chris is one of those friends that you might not see them physically for years, 2-3 years, but when you see them within 30 seconds, it's like we see each other every day.
Yeah.
So it's that sort of friendship we've got, which is really nice. I can be really relaxed and just speak my mind, and it's just great. And Julie, of course, got more involved as the years went on. But anyway, getting back to our Land's End to John O Groats, I was just trying to remember and recall 10 years ago today what we were doing. So I think the Leaf got delivered to Orkney, and I had some graphics made.
Yes, you did.
With the UK on the side. And we had Leafs, didn't we, to denote the route down to Land's End and put stats on it. And we had a couple of local renewable businesses contribute towards the graphics and stuff. So then I caught the Scrabster boat from Stromness to Scrabster, and then met you at Scrabster.
Yeah.
But you'd driven up from Aberdeen the night before that morning.
Yeah, no, it was. So I drove up. I drove up and stayed halfway up. Stayed in Helmsdale. And actually, funny enough, because I stayed in Helmsdale with a little hot B&B there, and then drove up that morning to meet you at Scrabster.
Yes. Yeah. So we jumped in. I shall never forget, there was, because for those that don't know Land's End to John O Groats in the UK, maybe you're in the States watching this or wherever.
Yeah.
They're the two furthest points in the UK. And people do lots of charity events to either run, be pushed in a bath with wheels on, or a hospital bed. They do all sorts of mad things for charity.
Has anybody ever done it in a bath with wheels on? I love that idea. Maybe, if not, maybe we should.
Covered in baked beans or something. It's usually a bit mad. But when we got to John O Groats, which is only literally 10 minutes from where the ferry docks at Scrabster, we were setting up the car, and we parked the car underneath the pole that says John O Groats and 800 odd miles to Land's End. And there was a chap who came up, and he had his wife or a support car, and he was going to run. Yep. He was going to run the whole way, obviously sleeping overnight, which to me just boggles the mind. But he came up to the window, and he was like, "Lads, what you're doing is awesome." We were like, no, hang on. We're driving in the car, you're running, But he was gobsmacked for what we were doing, and I was gobsmacked that he thought what we were doing was more monumental than what he was doing.
But I think that just shows even still probably today is that the mindset towards EVs, right? He was thinking, my God, you're going to drive an electric car. Like what? It's 800 miles, just over 800 miles. It's like, that's impossible. You're never going to do that. That's crazy. Yeah. And he's running it, which is just insane. But again, like I say, it just shows a mindset towards EVs at the time.
So we set off, didn't we? Yeah. And we had, there's a little free app you can still get called Leaf Spy, and you plug in some electronics, and we take that, attached it to the windscreen. We were looking at battery temperatures and voltages and regen and all that carry on. And by the and we were using something called Glimpse, which I don't think is around.
I don't think it exists anymore.
No,
we were using Glimpse, and that was like a GPS tracker. So it's a live GPS tracker, so people can see. You share a link through your social media, and people can click on it and see where you are and real time. And Periscope, you mentioned Periscope as well, because it was like a live stream.
Yeah, we did that, didn't we? That disappeared. But what amazed us both is that we would turn up to charges. So we did the first 3 or 4 down the A9, which are fairly sort of remote places. But then we got to Hamilton Services, didn't we? Which is south of Glasgow. Can't remember. That sort of area. And what were their names? Who came to meet us at those charges?
There was Derek. Forgotten Derek's surname, but Derek and it was Bob. So Bob Murphy, who's now become a very good friend as well. And so they came out to meet us at the Hamilton Services for the charger. A lone Rapid, if I remember rightly, a lone ectricity charger.
That's right.
And they were like, "We've been charging, but we're going to move off the charger to let you guys get charged so you can get going again." And met us for a coffee and a chat, and that was kind of our first interaction with the public, with people coming out to see us and go, "What you're doing is mad. We'd love to kind of chat to you and stuff," which is kind of nice. That was kind of a cool moment, but I think very poignant as well. Though we knew each other at that point, we were friends, we'd spoken a lot and everything, but that is probably the single most longest time we'd not probably spent more than an hour or so with each other at any point. So we're going to be now spending like what was hopefully going to be 48 hours, but probably it was over 50 hours together, locked in, confined in a car together, not knowing whether we'd get on or not, or me do your head in.
And genuinely, I'm not just saying this for the camera and for the interview. We just got on great. There was. Well, I just really enjoyed it. I remember links being sprayed under armpits and in the seating area of where we were sitting, just to keep the air sort of nicely fragrant. But I remember lots of links being used. So we made our way down through the Midlands, down the A9, M6. And one thing I do remember, we stopped at a few places. I think, was it the one in Cornwall where a couple, we parked up at, I can't remember the Cornwall services, can't remember what it's called, might have been Bridgewater, I can't remember. And we parked up, and bear in mind, 8 in the morning when we started, we met Bob at Hamilton Services, and I remember it being dark. Yeah. Because I think we missed the turning, so it was sort of 9, 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah, so it's worth probably noting that we were travelling, we were keeping our speed to about 55. I mean, and A9 is generally like 60 mile an hour motor roads anyway, but we're keeping our speed to 55 to get best efficiency out of the car and things. So we were taking a bit longer to do distances than most people would.
It was really weird to get up in the morning and drive through the day and then drive through the night, and then the sun would come up again, and we were in the next day. And we were down in Cornwall, we pulled up, and you were staggering around. Well, you weren't. I was trying to figure out what buttons to press to make the electricity charger work, because I was so tired. This was on the way down.
Yes.
And I remember, I'm sure it was a black Nissan Leaf came screeching round into the car park.
Yep.
And it just made us like, it's a bit random, And this couple got out, ran over to the car, and went, "We're so relieved to meet you. We've got babysitters in to babysit our kids, because we wanted to come and see you and shake your hands, because what you're doing is amazing." I never forget that. I was blown away the fact that they'd gone out their way as a couple to come and meet us and shake our hands. That was in Cornwall, I think.
Yeah, and I guess again that just shows what the EV community was like. Before Essentially, it was really probably mainstream, so everybody was coming out just to kind of go, I think it's cool. I mean, we've driven long journeys, but this is crazy compared to what we've done.
Yes.
And they were just showing support, which again is
nice.
We still experience. You probably still experience today. I experience today still as well, and it's just nice to see that support is still there. But it was nice to see them come out and literally just get a babysitter in at the last minute and come tearing down the road. We were hogging the charger.
That's right. Yeah. On the way down, so we did experience what later became known as Rapid Gate. So because there wasn't any thermal management in the Nissan Leaf, in the Nissan Aria and other subsequent Nissans that are coming out, there is thermal management.
There is indeed.
But for those that don't know, Rapid Gate was just a term picked up by social media and EV nerds like us, where a bit like Watergate, well, Rapid Gate basically means after 3 or 4 rapid charges, which is up to 50 kilowatts of energy, like anything, like your mobile phone, if you plug it into a charger, it gets warm.
Yeah.
So in the Nissan Leaf, it had the tendency to get quite hot, and so in order to protect itself from frying itself on the battery side, it would limit how fast it would draw DC electric current out of a charger, which meant instead of it being 45 minutes, might be an hour and a half, possibly 2 hours to get any amount in, because the battery had no way of cooling itself down. So we came up with this theory, didn't we, Chris? Halfway down through Englandshire, was, we got a lot of time on our hands, and we'd, done all the socials and stuff. We're like, there's got to be a way of cooling down this battery. Tell us what we did. I do remember. I just want you to relate what you remember doing.
Well, I remember. I mean, oh God, I still have the chills in my feet. But what I remember was obviously the battery. You got an indicator on the car that shows you the battery temperature, and what we'd find is it get close to the top end of the battery temperature, but after we've driven that next leg, it would drop down a notch or two, and then that next rapid charge would pop it back up that 2 notches. So we were always doing that 2 notch of temperature balance drop, but we had this theory that while we're driving, thinking, right, cold. We need to introduce some cold into the car. What's the only way we can do this? Air conditioning. We know we're covering the range between the chargers, and we've got range left. So let's use the air conditioning. Let's turn the air conditioning right up and get the car really cold. That cold will then get down to the battery, or the fore area will start to get really cold, and that'll maybe help the battery and penetrate this solid case and insulation. And then there's also the inspection, effectively the inspection hatch, or the fuse disengagement hatch, right? So we pop that off, and so you can see the battery, and it gives you access into the battery. So we thought the cold air will drop down into there, and that will make the case nice and cold. And again, that thermally that insulated case, that cold will slip down into there. None of it worked, of course, did it?
No. Well, the only result was I distinctly remember not feeling the heels of my feet. They were just numb. I mean, not just cold, just numb. If you had a pin and stuck them in my heel, I wouldn't have felt it. They were just literally felt like blocks of ice.
There's a picture of us, John, at Land's End, with me with that big cow hat on, and there was a reason, because it was like keeping my head nice and keep my ears nice and warm. That was why I had it. It was just a hat for like wearing in the car in case we need it, in case we got too cold. But yeah, I mean, but it's one of those things, right? Again, everybody's learning about the technology and how it develops and what it's capable of, and we just had these theories, and we thought, well, we've got so long in this car, we've got so many hours to kill. Let's give it a go. And then we realised that wasn't a very good idea.
No. And something I'm always regularly asked is that, like taking the Leaf, for instance, the Mark 1 Leaf, is that driving around in B mode is the most efficient. I get that a lot. And, I don't mind how people drive, as long as they drive EVs. But I always say, look, when me and Chris did that stupid long drive from John O Groats to Land's End, we tried every conceivable drive mode to see what was the most efficient. And we both came to the conclusion of the least amount of resistance when you're sat on the motorway. So no B, and we did a lot of hypermiling.
Yeah, we did a lot of hypermiling. So
explain what hypermiling is, Chris.
Yeah.
So I don't do all the talking.
So basically, what you were saying there is we drove in D mode, which is a standard mode. It's the least resistance on the motors. So basically, you get a bit more of efficiency for driving forward. But when we'd ever come to any kind of downhill sections, what we would then do is any kind of downhill section, we would slip the car into neutral. And I will say, as a safety thing here, always retaining your hand on effectively the gear lever, the knob, the drive shifter at this point. So in neutral, you then disengage the battery essentially, and you're just coasting then down the hill. And as you're then picking up speed and you're hitting maybe the national speed limit, you're then popping back into D mode, which then gives you a little bit of regen if you need it, or you can be on your accelerator to hold the neutral point.
Yes.
And you're just keeping your momentum going. And sometimes with the neutral, you're not using the battery to keep your momentum going and also pick up nice speed. But it's just a better way it's a way to extend the battery. And I actually did that a lot on pole to pole. A lot, and that's where we did, instead of having 150 miles of real world range in our car, we did 205 miles, and still had 30 miles of range left. So it's a technique that you can do, and in a shorter range EV to extend its range.
Yes, and I do remember, because as well, when you rapid charge a battery, it creates heat. But also, when you regen, you're creating heat. So our other theory was that as we were going down a slight incline and it was safe to do so, we'd hold it in neutral, so we'd hypermile. With the theory, and I think worked out that with the air rushing under the car, it's going to cool the pack that bit quicker because the pack isn't receiving energy from regen, which creates heat. So that was the other reason we liked to hypermile, was to give the battery a bit of a rest to try and help it cool down a bit. So when we got to the next rapid, it would be a bit cooler, so it would charge a bit faster. This is the sort of thought process you go through when you're in the car with someone for something like 40
I know. And sometimes you start to go, I think that worked. That's working. That's working. And then you do it the next time and go, it's not working. It's not working. Okay. I didn't work. And so you start convincing. I mean, we've been on and off with sleeping, as you say. We were sleeping when one was driving, the other one was on the back seats trying to get some sleep. And bear in mind, we're driving about 65 miles between charges. So you're about an hour and a half to 2 hours So you're trying to get that level of sleep in the back of a car that's moving around and things, which was very uncomfortable. And we were on the go for, I think in the end, so the aim was 48 hours for the whole thing there and back. But I think we ended up doing about 52 to 54, somewhere around about there.
I remember sleeping on the back seat on the way back from Land's End back up to John O Groats. Do you remember the game we enjoyed playing on the way down? I think we did it on the way back.
Yes.
In my shopping basket. But it was car manufacturers.
It was car manufacturers, yes.
So for those who have no idea of what we're on about, I'm going to start off and see if we can get to... We'll get to D.
Putting the pressure on.
Yeah. In my shopping basket, Chris, I've got an Alfa Romeo.
In my shopping basket, I have an Alfa Romeo and a BMW i3.
Oh, in my shopping basket, I've got an Alfa Romeo, a BMW i3, and a Corvette, because I've gone to the dark side for a small bit of time.
In my shopping basket, I have an Alfa Romeo, I have a BMW, I just say BMW, and I have a Corvette, and I have, balance it out, bring it down to more everybody else's day's budget, a Dacia.
Oh, a Dacia Spring. Nice. So you get the idea. That's the game we played all the way through to Z. What was Z? Was it a Zonda?
It was a Zonda.
I can't remember.
It was a Zonda.
I think it was a Zonda,
yes.
Wasn't it? So that's the type of stupid memory game that we played on the way down to Cornwall, which was through that day. Yeah, and we got there sort of late afternoon. I can't remember what the time was. But we pulled up, didn't we, to Land's End and did some posing. You had that great hat on, didn't you? The
Highland Cow.
Highland Cow.
Yeah.
With horns. So we posed there, and a friend of mine was actually visiting. Sarah and her husband were there, and they took pictures, which were nice and convenient. That was just pure coincidence. Yeah, and then it was at that point I distinctly remember thinking, after being awake, it was over a day.
It was probably about 28 to 29 hours. I think 20 hours.
It was at that point I thought we really should have booked a hotel here in Cornwall and had transport back for the Leaf. But Chris, being Chris, was like, "No, come on, we've been here 40 minutes. Let's get going." So I jumped back in the car. It was just 40 minutes.
It was.
And there was, because there was an ecotricity rapid at Land's End, and we started making our way back, and I think that's when the tiredness really started to kick in for me, and the feeling of nausea, and that I had the mother of all headaches when I got back. But we took it in turns to sleep on the back seat. Pizzas, pull into services, and didn't we crash out on some big comfy sofas at a service, and didn't I go to sleep and I woke up and I didn't know where I was. Something.
There was, I mean, I think, not to say delirium, but it was a little bit like, things were setting in for you a little bit on that, which I don't blame you. And yeah, there was one point you kind of were a bit kind of like, where are we? What day of the week is it? I really don't know. I just want to get to land. I just want to get to John O Groats.
Yeah, just want to get all the way back. And Dale Vance, is it Vance or Vince?
Dale Vance, I think. Dale Vance.
Vance, yeah. He got wind of it because we sort of sent him an email saying we're going to be using his chargers. And I understand he wanted to meet us with a bottle of champagne, but it never actually worked out. But he was well up for it. The BBC covered it as well. There was and it's still on there. I checked the other day. It's still there. The fact that we did it, and we were hoping to get in the Guinness Book of Records, but as you probably know, Guinness want a shed load of money to be able to verify it and have people either end. So that didn't sort of work out. But the fact we had it on the socials, and we sort of did a live stream of when we set off and when we got there.
I think it was, and I think the other real element for me was, and you've highlighted it a couple of times during this chat, is the fact that the support we got from the community. EV owners, but also people outside of that. The people just following it on social media, sharing it, sending messages, asking how we're doing, and just kind of effectively just touching base with us from time to time. And that gave us another thing to kind of do in the car. And just kind of, somebody's mentioned this, and somebody's mentioned, maybe you should try this, or maybe you should go to this charger, or watch out, this charger is, or they're at a charger. They're on it just now. So when we pull up, they will jump off and let us on. And there's all those kind of like supporting kind of meshes coming, which was that was a really cool thing for me on that trip.
Yes, yeah.
Outside of obviously being on the trip with you, of course.
Oh, of course, yeah. But when people today, I still hear people occasionally going, well, the infrastructure's not there yet. But let's just make it clear, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think 𝐒𝐿 with the electric highway was the only rapid charge setup in England. I think Charge Place Scotland had started rolling out their charges. Yes, it did, because we stopped at Helmsdale.
Yes.
So,
but that was still quite sparse as well, really. So
yes. Yeah, they weren't in every town. So there was meticulous planning, which you did with that typed up spreadsheet, which was just typical Chris. But yeah, so you look at the infrastructure now, and okay, we went through a period of having to have a dozen RFID cards in your pocket or your wallet and umpteen apps. But with the likes of Electroverse from Octopus Energy, one card does a raft of providers now, and pay with chip and pin, just flash your debit card on most modern chargers like with GridServe. The charging has become really, really easy. There's no adventure anymore, Chris, is there? That's
why I had to leave the UK and get my adventures outside of the UK. But no, you're right. I mean, if we were to do that trip now, there's kind of two angles to this. So if we were to do that trip now with a modern day Leaf, the new Leaf that's coming, even the 40 kilowatt hour Leaf or 62 kilowatt hour Leaf, I mean, it would just be so much easier. And now you've got the new generation Leaf coming out, the 2026 Leaf, which is the higher end spec is what they say around 370 miles. Having already driven it, I reckon we could put with some efficient driving, you could push that into the 400s. I reckon, but you wouldn't need to with that kind of level of range, and then with the charging infrastructure being, probably every 40 to 60 miles max, and it's anywhere between 100 and 150 kilowatt charging upwards, and the Leaf will charge at those 150 kilowatt speeds or 130 kilowatt. Again, a couple, like 2 charges, you'd be at John O Groats probably, something like that, and it's just ridiculous to think that we did 33 rapids, and in 2 charges we could do exactly the same thing essentially.
Yeah. So hopefully, let's. Well, you've got contacts in this, and it'd be great if we could replicate it.
It'd be kind of cool, wouldn't it?
Watch this space.
But the other flip side to that as well is somebody said, well, now you've got increased infrastructure. What would it be like if you went and did that trip again in a 64 kilowatt hour Leaf, in a 24 kilowatt hour Leaf? Try doing that. Go do that again, because you've got more access to chargers. And you're like, it's a thought now of doing a long distance drive in a 65 mile range car.
Yeah. I tell you what, the only thing that would put me off seriously now would be the lack of CHAdeMO. Because, most services will have, 10 rapid charges, like from GridServe. 2 of them will have CHAdeMO and CCS, and all the rest will just be CCS. So I would honestly hesitate with a CHAdeMO equipped car, but I'll certainly do it in a CCS car. And that's just the way the market is developed.
Yeah.
Because the manufacturers just adopting CCS as a charging system.
But that's probably a worth note, because you have a great following within the community, and it's probably like a little note for people that are watching this and saying, if you're going to a bank of chargers and there is a charger which has got CHAdeMO and CCS on it, in some cases some chargers only give one DC charge. So if you've got a CCS charging car and there's lots of CCS chargers and only one charger with CCS and CHAdeMO, go to the other chargers first. Only use the CHAdeMO and CCS charger if it's the only one available. So it's the only one that's left. Because then if a Leaf does turn up, or a Kia Soul EV, or I think that's pretty much the 2, really, isn't it?
That and the plug-in hybrid Mitsubishi Outlander took, but that's a plug-in.
But it means that they can go there and they can use that charger. Because I have seen sometimes where basically there's been a GridServe and there's been 12 chargers, and yet there's the person's chose to plug into the CHAdeMO and CCS, but probably because they just don't know. So,
they just don't realise. Yeah, it is a good point. Yeah. Getting back to I was trying to remember the other memorable things that we did. Do you remember when we got back up to John O Groats?
And I nearly ditched the car in the harbour.
we were doing the time work there, and you were like, JP, quick, get the time, put it on Glimpse and Twitter, and the timer got back. And so the old Shake Nissan Leaf had what we call a foot handbrake.
Yep.
So you got the accelerator, the brake, and then it almost looks like a clutch, but that's the foot handbrake. So we drove up this grassy mound next to the pole, but there was a slight incline, wasn't there, towards the sea.
Towards the harbour, yeah, into the ocean.
And I think we were so tired, we didn't press P for park, and I think you just like left it in neutral or whatever, didn't put the handbrake on, and you jumped out of the car to go, yay! And the car started to creep towards the sea.
I think what happened was we did it so quickly, because you were live streaming at the time. We did it so quickly, and at this time, I don't think you can drive up to the sign anymore, but at this time you can drive up to the sign. So I think we'd gone beyond the sign a little bit, and it was on, as you say, on that little downward crest. And because I put the car into park, and I put my foot down on the foot brake as well, but because I sprung out of the car, I automatically took the foot brake off because you depress it. So I did that, and as I jumped out, I had one foot out, one foot up in the air, and the car started to roll down the hill towards the harbour. You kind of still on live streaming, jumped down into the footwell with your hand, and I think what happened was you pressed the brake pedal, your brake pedal, and then put the handbrake on with your hand.
That's right.
I put my foot to do the same thing to react, and I think I stood on your hand. You put it on the handbrake. So apologies about that. But it was like literally that would have been beyond a celebratory moment. It would have been a headline story for different reasons, right? Two guys ditched Leaf in the back in the ocean.
Thanks for lending us your press car. We've done it, but we've left your car in the Pendant of Firth.
So it was kind of a memorable ending for a few reasons. But but we got back. I think you missed your ferry by the time we got back, and you went to a hotel. So
yeah, that's right. And you crazy person, jumped back in your hire car and drove all the way back down to Aberdeen, and you went to work the next day.
Yeah, it was about 5-hour drive back to Aberdeen.
I just genuinely, and at the time I went to the hotel and I couldn't get to sleep. I was so tired I couldn't sleep because I had such a migraine and a headache. But that's all sort of the negatives. But overall, just bouncing off the walls, we'd actually done it.
You've never done a road trip with me since, have you?
No. So you did another road trip after that. You went in an i3 Rex with a taped over petrol filler. And you went to, was it Monaco?
Yep, so we did Edinburgh to Monaco, to Monte Carlo, did a lap of the street circuit in Monte Carlo, then went straight from there to London for London Formula E, and then after Formula E we drove straight back up to Edinburgh. We did Edinburgh to Monte Carlo to Edinburgh, to London to Edinburgh in 60 hours in a 65-mile range, i3.
You went with, and I can't remember his name.
Terry from BMM Energy.
Oh, Terry, BMM Energy, yes. Terry, if you're watching. I remember Terry saying that you broke him.
Yeah. It's literally, I mean, I just remember, and Terry, amazing guy, again, just a wonderful guy. We had such a good laugh in the car. But I remember him getting to, and bless him, we were getting towards Calais for the Eurotunnel. And he just turned to me at one point driving and said, I can't drive anymore. I can't. That's me. I'm done. And he was like, "Great, pull over." So we pulled over on a lay-by on the highway. I jumped in and I took over and got us to London. But I think what's been a running theme is that I tend to break people. I think you know only too well that I have. My brain is wired in a different way. And there's people out there that are like this. And not to bring in names, but like Jeremy Clarkson, I think he has the same kind of thing as well. There's a lot of people out there like that where you can just seem to drive. When you get in the car behind the wheel, you're more energized than what you are from outside the wheel. And that seems to be the way that I am. I just have this insatiable appetite to drive, but then equally, my brain will give me this little trigger to go, that's you. That you need to be stopping at your next one, and that's you finished. Yeah. So it's kind of a weird switch and Julie's mentioned that a lot, that she says, I'm just a robot when I get behind the wheel. And I think, like I said, Terry's never done a road trip with me either again. So
So after you did that, just briefly, and people can look it up on the interweb, is you did the Mongol Rally in a 30 kilowatt hour Leaf.
Yes.
Which was the world first. You then also set a world record for a battery assisted push bike.
E-bike.
So many laps. Was that in 12 hours or 24?
The longest distance achieved in 12 hours on an e-bike.
That's right.
I did, I think it was like about 179 miles in 12 hours. And I did 2 hours of preparation for it.
Yeah. And then we did other mad things together along with James. So drove my Twizy. So that was on an e-bike. So James drove the Twizy from Aberdeen down to fully charged, the first fully charged down
Silverstone,
Silverstone. And you were on an electric push bike and you were racing James.
I remember that.
I was driving your Model S Tesla, and I was shattered. And I'm like, I shouldn't be tired. I'm sitting in this beautiful car, driving behind Chris, so he doesn't get knocked over by passing trucks and stuff. And Chris is pedalling his heart out, and I'm sitting here, and I'm tired, and you're as fresh as a button.
I remember we're setting off. We all prepared near my home, and we got set up and got sorted, and then. And we set off at midnight, so the roads would be a bit quieter going down the A1 and things. And then an almighty wind just set in on the north coast, right? Yeah. And I mean, I remember James was like stopping earlier than he planned because he was like just chewing through his battery in the Twizy because of the wind. And I was pedaling on full power and just going for it. And if I ever dropped off the battery and trying to maintain pace, the wind was just pushing me back. And we were like, what are we doing? But we made it. I mean, that was the thing. It was that again. It's part of that experience, and you learn, and you learn. Yeah. You just have so many bonding experiences. I remember we met James at like 2 a.m. as the Grassic Gibbons Centre, I think it's called.
Oh yeah,
where he was plugged into a charger, and we were all just shivering away in the cold, going, "What are we doing?"
Yeah. And then, of course, you went on to do that unbelievable feat of driving from the North Pole to the South Pole in that Nissan area.
Yeah.
Which you've been officially recognised just in the last few weeks, haven't you, from Guinness?
Yeah, so it's been recognised as the first expedition from a magnetic North Pole to South Pole by an electric vehicle. And it's actually the first vehicle ever in history anyway. Yes. But also the furthest distance travelled by an electric vehicle in Antarctica to the South Pole. And again, it's the first electric vehicle to attempt to drive across Antarctica as well. So, and equally, though, I will say is it shows just how strong mine and Julie's marriage is, because I've done 2 road trips with her now, 2 adventures, the Mongol Rally and Pole to Pole, which were, and no disrespect, they were obviously way tougher, way more stressed than some of the stuff that we've done. But she's still married to me somehow. I'm a lucky guy. But I will say that we're talking about me a lot here, but equally you've done, I mean, how many times have you driven from the UK, like Leicester, or even further south, up to Orkney in an EV?
It's over 70 times when I was buying and selling cars.
Yeah.
And it was a cheap way to get cars back up because it's such a long way. Transport and transporters is so expensive. But I wanted to keep basically saying to people on the social medias that you can drive long distances in a 50-mile range, or even the Mitsubishi 𝐼𝐸, let's be honest, 45-mile range EV. You can drive from Leicestershire to Orkney. So, did that a fair few times. But pole to pole, mate, I followed you on your poletopole.com website, and it's just immense. And I'm looking forward to seeing possibly the footage in the future, but I understand there's a book coming out as well. Yeah,
we hoped to have it out this year, the end of the year, but we've got to go through a bit more kind of structural edit kind of stuff. Yeah. So we're hoping to have that out just into the early part of next year.
Wow.
So once we kind of get that firmed up, we can announce on our socials when that's going to come out. We, as you say, we are still trying, as people probably gather, and we don't give up easily. We are still trying to make a documentary happen, and it's just learning how that industry works and how we can make it happen. Sadly, a lot of channels all they're doing is putting out channel to putting out all these biopics from all these famous celebrities about their life, which is fine, which is great. It's what people want to watch. But it just means that something like ours, we have to go out there and make that happen ourselves rather than a channel bringing that to life. So that's why it's taking a bit longer. And then we start thinking about what's next.
I can't begin to imagine what you're going to do next, but it'll be something absolutely monumental, I'm sure. But Chris, I can't believe we've been talking for...
No, it's crazy.
This is great. And I just want to remember 10 years ago, today, we did that crazy trip, mate. And power to your elbow, you've done some amazing things and helped people see that EVs... Anyone can live with an EV.
Absolutely.
Range isn't an issue. And, you're still championing what EVs can do. They're not going to bring about world peace. There is some CO2 costs in its production and batteries and all that carry on, but overall there is no tailpipe.
Yep.
It's not burning stuff. And as our good friend 𝐕𝐈𝐃, Mr. Battery, Dr. Battery, has done a few videos on his channel, something like over 90% of most EV batteries can be recycled, broken down to their basic elements and reused and made into another battery. Or the old battery of a car that's been smashed up, it won't end up in landfill. It'll end up being battery storage.
Battery storage, or it'll end up in a EV conversion that's done by people like electric cars and Felton. Yeah. So there's lots of uses before they end up even getting to that recycle stage, which is, I think, a lot of people don't understand. But yeah, I mean, what I would say is, I mean, it's always a pleasure to chat to you. Thank you for inviting me to have a chat, and thank you for doing what you do. Because there's lots of people around the UK and in some cases in Spain and various things that are driving EV because of the work that you do. So it's a pleasure and an honour to have you as a friend, and learn from you when I need advice on things. So I come to you as well. So, and who knows, maybe we might be jumping in a car and doing a little road trip again.
I would like to. I'll do John O Groats Land's End, but I'd have to stay in a hotel when we got down to Land's End. I have to say, I'm now 10 years older, mate.
Yeah.
I'm 60, whatever it is, 62.
That's a deal.
I'm not 50 anymore.
It's a deal.
Chris, love to speak to you, pal. Love to Julie.
Yep.
And we'll see you soon.
Cool.
Pal.
See you soon. Take care, man.
Cheers.
See you later.
Hi Helen, this is especially for you. This is the way we found the charge cable. So we're going to be good boys and we're going to tidy up after other people. There you go, I'll keep it happy.
Chris, we've done it.
Yes!
We've done it.
1.5 miles to go.
This has been a bit mad.